Joining us now is U.S. soccer coaching legend and former U.S. men's national team coach Bruce Arena, here to talk about his book, What's Wrong with Us? A coach's blunt take on the state of American soccer after a lifetime on the touchline. Now, Coach, clearly it was a disappointment for everybody that the U.S. did not qualify for the World Cup this year. What made you want to write a book that would recall such a painful memory for all U.S. soccer fans?
Well, the book was originally going to be about the U.S. teams qualifying for the World Cup and hopefully being in World Cup in our preparation for Russia. Unfortunately, in October, we failed in our last game against Trinidad and didn't qualify for the World Cup. And my story is really, it's about my life growing up and getting into soccer, my experiences collegiately, professionally at the different clubs in MLS and with the national teams. And then at the end of the book, I make some suggestions that hopefully allow for us not to be in this position ever again. And I make recommendations to U.S. soccer and Major League Soccer on some things we can improve on the technical side.
I want to get to some of those suggestions in just a second, but with the World Cup starting this week, does that bring about any added regret, remorse, anger, any of those emotions?
Remorse, I wouldn't say anger, but really disappointed, But I would say this, and I'd like to correct the notion out there that a lot of people say that our players didn't care, didn't have the right attitude. And in 2017, we won 14 games in a row undefeated. We ended up the year with 10 wins, 2 losses, and 6 draws. And at the end, we failed. But it was a great group of players and coaches to work with. And we're all disappointed for not qualifying. But it started out tough in 2017 when I inherited a team that already had 2 losses in the competition. But the players gave everything they had in order to, get our team qualified. And yes, we fell short in the end.
One section of your book that made a little bit of news is that you wrote former U.S. soccer president Sunil Gulati had wanted to fire then head coach Jurgen Klinsmann 6 months before he actually ended up doing it. If he had fired Klinsmann and hired you 6 months earlier, do you think the U.S. would be playing in the World Cup?
I think so, because it would have given us preparation in Copa America. Obviously, the qualifying games in November of 2016 would have hopefully made things a little easy in making the transition. But again, you can never guarantee that. But I'd like to believe that with a little bit more time, we would have been able to qualify the team.
You talk about some of the suggestions you've made. You stated that U.S. soccer should incentivize American leagues to keep their young stars in the States as an effort to overall improve the national team. But many would say otherwise, and that the players should be playing against the best competition in the leagues in Europe. Why do you disagree with that latter point?
Well, first of all, if you look at our players in Europe, we don't have many players that are playing on first teams in Europe and in prominent roles. In Major League Soccer, we have a lot of our young players that never get on the field. So we have to develop some policies to allow our young players to develop. We have 3, 4, 5 good young players in the league that are playing, but we need many more. So hopefully U.S. soccer and MLS can agree to have some policies to get young American players on the field.
Obviously, you're a huge figure within U.S. soccer. That's why we're talking about all these things. What do you think your legacy will be within U.S. soccer?
Well, hopefully someone has helped build the sport. I've been involved in Major League Soccer for a number of years. U.S. soccer, as part of obviously a successful World Cup in 2002, helped the U.S. win 3 Gold Cups during my tenure. But growing the sport, when I took over the program in 1999, we were in poor shape, financially close to bankruptcy, and now U.S. soccer is in a position where commercially and politically they're in outstanding shape. However, technically on the field, we need to improve. And that's where my recommendations are. We need better leadership in the technical areas of the sport.
Well, Ernie Stewart was just hired to be the general manager of the U.S. men's national team. Do you approve of the new structure that the national team has now?
Yes, as I indicated in the book, I recommended that structure to the now President Carlos Cordero in October of 2017. I recommended that we have a general manager. I outlined some responsibilities for him. And then in January of 2018, I recommended to executives of U.S. Soccer Ernie Stewart. Ernie's young, doesn't have that much experience, but will learn. And he's a good person. Obviously was a great player, has management backgrounds in Holland and now in the U.S., and hopefully he does a good job.
What about the coaching situation? Do you think they should keep your former assistant coach, current interim head coach Dave Sarkhan at the helm of the U.S. men's national team?
Well, that's certainly going to be Ernie's decision, plus the president and the board of directors of U.S. Soccer. I suspect that they're going to look at a number of candidates and make a decision in the next month or two.
All right, looking at the World Cup again now, are there any teams or players that you're rooting for?
Well, I'd like to see the CONCACAF teams advance. I have a suspicion that none will get out of their group play. I think Panama has a real tough road, and certainly Mexico opening up with Germany is not going to be easy. Costa Rica has an outside chance of qualifying. Hopefully one of them get through. The team that's obviously everyone's favorite is Germany. And until somebody knocks them off, I have a feeling that Germany can make it to the final.
Thanks again for your time this morning, Coach. And everybody check out the book, What's Wrong with Us? A Coach's Blunt Take on the State of American Soccer After a Lifetime on the Touchline. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Robin.